Hello everyone. This video is all about Mod Rathe's posts in the Combat Rework forum, and before I get into the actual information that he gives on the Combat Rework, I wanted to point out this post, which is pretty awesome to be honest. It's pretty much confirming that the combat team, so that's Mod Rathe, Mod Crystal, Mod Pi, and Mod, I can't remember his name, but he is a very valued member of the team. All of them are against the microtransactions, so they've all vetoed adding combat-related things to the Wheel of Fortune. So that's pretty awesome that they're actually saying that now, because, I mean, we've always thought, or at least I've always assumed that there were plenty of JMods who didn't like this Wheel of Fortune, but this is the first actual JMod post that I've seen who's against it. So it's pretty cool to actually see someone speak out against it a bit, and I hope more JMods do that in the future, because if they don't listen to the players, maybe they'll at least listen to some JMods. That would be nice, although yeah, it doesn't seem likely at this point. But anyway, good big shout out to Mod Rathe, and yeah, that's awesome for the whole combat team as well. So now on to the rest of the information in this video. So the first thing is something that's been long awaited, or well, at least it's been awaited by me since the last video that I made, and that is that the Godsword special attack will be the Judgment attack, although it'll be an ability now, and Judgment is the Armadyl Godsword special, so it's pretty awesome. So pretty much all Godswords will be given the Armadyl Godsword special attack, and it seems like most, if not all, two-handed melee weapons will also be given this special attack. So you can unlock it by leveling your attack skill, and you can unlock similar abilities by leveling strength. So as Mod Rathe says here, strength skill abilities tend to focus on two-handed things, and attack tend to focus on one-handed ones. So pretty much what he's saying there is that all two-handed melee weapons, or maybe not all, but that most two-handed melee weapons can use the Armadyl Godsword special attack. So that means that, as far as I can tell, Chaotic Maul will easily be the best two-handed weapon by far for melee, because it'll have better stats than Godswords and it'll have the same specs. So, yep. Okay. So next is that all weapons of the same tier will give the same damage output. So is like that pretty much, in my opinion, it means, or in my interpretation, it means that a rapier will give the same damage per second as a chaotic longsword as a chaotic maul. I really hope that isn't taking into account the defense of the opponent, because your two-handed weapon shouldn't have the same DPS as a rapier if the monster has really high defense. In that case, the maul ought to be more accurate, so it ought to be better. But maybe not. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong. Anyway, so even if they're all about the same, that's an interesting twist. It means that it doesn't really matter what weapon you use as long as you're using a weapon in that tier, which is, I don't know, I can't really wrap my head around this, because it doesn't really make any sense that a dragon dagger would give the same damage per second as a dragon two-hand sword. Even if it's sort of similar damage per second, what about the cost of the weapon? Like, a dragon dagger is 16k, so in order to make the damage per second equivalent, wouldn't they have to rework all the prices of all the items and make it so that the monsters that drop them have different drops? I don't know, it just seems like too much. I really can't wait to see what they're actually doing with that when we get to the beta. And then this next one is also really interesting. Player-worn armor doesn't have weaknesses to particular combat styles. So you'll have melee defense gear, and you'll have range defense gear, and you'll have mage defense gear, but you're not going to have something like crush defense. That won't matter. It'll just be melee defense in general. So that's also going to be another thing that the Chaotic Maul versus Godswords and other melee weapons, that'll be interesting in PvP combat, because before the Maul was more accurate because it was a crush weapon and most melee armor had lower crush defense. So it'll be interesting to see how things balance out like that. But the weaknesses on NPCs will still have specific weaknesses, and he mentions here that an NPC might be especially weak to water magic or crushing melee. So they're going to have the the elemental spells, all the different ones, give different advantages on different monsters, it seems. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. And also, along with that, he doesn't mention it here, but I'm interested in seeing what the damage per second on different magic spells will be, because I would sort of expect, if they're making specific weaknesses for specific elemental spells, I'd expect them to make it so that all the surge spells give the same DPS. Otherwise, that would be weird. Anyway, on to the next one. So this one is basically saying all two-handed swords are given a large, or all two-handed weapons in general are given a large stat bonus, which is necessary because they sort of suck at the moment. Spec restores still have some unannounced feature, and that also goes for other spec recovering things like the auras and other bits. They're aiming to release it in September. That was mentioned in the previous one. And then another thing that was mentioned before is that all armors will have their stats readjusted. That was mentioned before, along with all armors giving life point boosts. So anyway, next is an interesting update to hybriding, pretty much making it really, really easy to hybrid. This is with the action bar. You can put, I mentioned in the last one that you could put things like high alch in the action bar, so you could just press the 1 button on your keyboard and then press on an item in your inventory and it would alch it. And this is in the same style as that. You can put your weapons or gear in your action bar, so if you want to switch between a scimitar and a crossbow, you can put one on the 1 key and one on the 2 key, so you just press 1 or 2 to switch between them. So pretty much hybriding is ridiculously easy now, at least in terms of the item switching. I'm sure the abilities and knowing how to use those will make up for it, or at least I hope so. But that should be interesting for hybrid fights. Next is that they're adding 2 new curses to be the equivalent of turmoil for range and magic. So it's going to be anguish for range and torment for magic. And all of them will be unlocked through the Temple at Sentisten quest, which is, I mean, it's good to have them all unlocked, and it's going to be great to have those alternatives for range and mage, but I feel like it's going to completely devalue the dungeoneering prayers, so Rigor and Augury will be completely useless pretty much. So I hope they do something to make those more useful, but I sort of doubt it. They're probably just nerfing them completely. Okay, next, sort of in line with the Turmoil mage equivalent, they're going to make mage tanks an equivalent, or a viable playing style, and it's going to be really good to have a mage tank against melee people. And that is probably going to go in with something that was mentioned a while ago, which is giving mage armors melee defense. So they sort of did this with Ganodermic, but they're probably reworking all of the magic gear to be high melee defense, because that would make sense. So anyway, that's good. That's good. And then more about range and mages, rangers and mages, about the ammunition that they use up. And so it's confirmed here that the new abilities do not consume any ammo for the ranges and mages. Sorry, I keep saying ranges instead of rangers. So yeah, the abilities do not consume any ammo for the rangers or mages, and only your normal attacks consume ammo. So you will use a lot less supplies when you're ranging and maging, which is pretty awesome, because it was sort of nasty to have to spend a lot of money, especially for expensive things like Ice Barrage or Storm of Armadyl. And then another little mention, actually I think all the rest of the things mentioned here are just sort of individual little things. So life point boosts on armor will not favor meleeers. All of the same level gear will give the same amount of life point boost, so it's like all next armor is giving the same amount of life point boost. So just good to have that confirmed. Here's a really nice one. They're rewriting a lot of, or actually all of the source code for the combat system. So this should help a lot with the server-side lag, so hopefully a lot less server lag. And then also that there will be a lot of beta test servers, at least 25 servers. So that means that 50,000 people can be online at once, which is way more than we'll need, hopefully, or definitely. So good to have that confirmed. I was wondering how many servers there would be, but a lot is good. Just a minor thing here, all of the special attack animations, I mean, it's not going to be specs anymore, it'll be abilities, but all of the animations have been replaced with new shiny ones, as he says. And then there will be a new way to sheathe your weapons, so that'll just be when you're not fighting. Instead of just holding your weapons out in front of you, as it is now, you'll be able to sheathe them, so that's good. And then the final thing in this video is that you do not combine shields with bows to make the bow shields. I don't know if I mentioned that in the last video, but yeah, it's going to be like a two-handed bow and shield combo. And yeah, you'll be fletching those, so just a little thing there. So yeah, pretty awesome stuff. I'm definitely looking forward to the rework and the beta, definitely the beta. And so yeah, just again, a shout out to Mod Rathe and the combat team for making an awesome update, although I don't really know what it's going to be like, but it sounds pretty awesome, and their content in the past has been quite good, so I'm really looking forward to it. And also another shout out, because they're awesome, for saying that they're against the microtransactions, so awesome stuff. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up.